ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So today is a very beautiful day of the appearance of Lord Balaram. Balaram Jayanti Maha Mahotsav ki. And it's a very befitting and beautiful verse from Bhagavatam, spoken by the Lord himself to Yoga Maya. So this verse, Krishna is telling that Garbha Sankarshanat Vai Prahu Sankarshanam Bhuvi Rameti Loka Ramanat Balabhadram Balocharyat. If you see the translation closely, Prabhupada has mentioned that the verse is telling that Lord Balaram has three names. First name is Sankarshana. Sankarshana has the word Karshana or Akarshana or attraction because of being sent from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. Actually, any appearance of the Lord, any day when the Lord appears, one verse we definitely remember from Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti swarjuna. So the appearance and the activities of the Lord are both transcendental. Janma karma chame divyam. Not like us, mundane, mortal, conditioned living entities forced to take birth in some unfortunate situation, not like that. So we can see how the Lord, who appeared in the womb of Devaki, um, he got transferred to the womb of Rohini. That is why one of his names of Balaram is Sankarshana. The son of Rohini will also be celebrated as Sankarshana because of being sent from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. Then the second one, he will be called Rama because of his ability to please all the inhabitants of Gokula. Even Lord Shiva, when he instructs to Parvati, he talks about the glories of chanting the name Rama. So Rama, the word Rama means who gives pleasure to all the inhabitants of Gokula. And the third name, which the translation and the verse is telling, Balabhadram Balocharyat. Lord Balaram is also known as Balabhadra. In Jagannath Puri, they say Jagannath, Subhadra and Balabhadra. He'll be known as Balabhadra because of his extensive physical strength. Bala Uchriyat, because of his extensively bodily strength. So, what are the three names, Akhilesh Prabhu? Busy with something? What are the three names? Pay attention. Three names are Sankarshana, Rama, and Balabhadra. Okay, so today is a very beautiful, wonderful, divine appearance of Lord Balaram. Now, we know a lot about Lord Krishna and the importance of having Krishna in our heart. But what role does Balaram play? What is his importance? Who is he? What is his identity? How do we know what is the role of Lord Balaram in our lives? Actually, it is not like our scriptures do not have any information. They are filled with wonderful information and descriptions of who Lord Balaram is. We have some time, and let us spend this time to understand the position of Lord Balaram in our lives and who Lord Balaram is. What is his position? Some tattva and some leela of Lord Balaram. First thing, let's understand what does Lord Balaram do in our lives? Why Lord Balaram is required of. The first point that we need to remember or understand is our heart has a lot of weaknesses. And unless the weakness of the heart is removed, Lord Krishna doesn't manifest in our heart. And a very significant role is played by Lord Balaram in removing these weaknesses of heart. So what are these weaknesses of the heart? What prevents us to approach the Lord? What stops us? What is it that holds us back? Instructions of the Lord are available in the form of jnana, in the form of spiritual knowledge. But why is it we feel reluctant and hesitant to follow this? Because in our heart, there are a lot of weaknesses. And how do we understand this? That Lord Balaram plays a role in removing the weakness of heart? To understand this, let us see how Lord Balaram took birth. Because if we know how Balaram, today is appearance day of his. Today is the day when his divine appearance happened. How did he appear? All of us, we know that Devaki and Vasudev were imprisoned by Kamsa. They were there in the prison house. And Devaki had given birth to 6 sons before Balaram. Okay, Devaki had given 6 sons before Balaram, and Balaram, it appeared as if there was a miscarriage, or Balaram, he was there in Devaki's womb, but as we read from the translation, he got transferred to the womb of Rohini, because Rohini is eternally the mother of Balaram, and that is how his name is Sankarshan, but he got transferred. So Prabhupada, in a very beautiful purport, explains the role of Balaram in our lives, and it's a very, very interesting thing. This is in the same 10th canto, 2nd chapter, the 8th verse purport. Prabhupada writes something very interesting. Let's hear this. Symbolically, Mother Devaki's constant fear of Kamsa was purifying her. She was very afraid of Kamsa, but Prabhupada is writing Devaki's constant fear of Kamsa was purifying her. A pure devotee should always fear material association. What is the fear in this material world? Actually, the devotee of the Lord is not fearful of death, not fearful of material disease, not fearful of old age. These are the problems which anyway are going to come. But a devotee of the Lord who's properly fixed, who's properly situated, is fearful of material association. A pure devotee should always fear material association, and in this way, all the asuras of material association will be killed, as the Sad Garbha Suras were killed by Kamsas. So these are referred to as Garbha Asuras, as the Shad Garbha Suras were killed by Kamsa. It is said that from the mind, Marichi appears. In other words, Marichi is an incarnation of the mind. So from the mind, Marichi appears, and Prabhupada is saying, in other words, Marichi is an incarnation of the mind. And this Marichi has 6 sons: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. So this is highlighted and in italics. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in pure devotional service. The Lord doesn't appear otherwise. He appears in pure devotional service, and this is confirmed in the Vedas. This is a Vedic conclusion. Bhaktir evainam darshayati. Only bhakti can bring one in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if bhakti is not there, one cannot come in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared from the womb of Devaki, and therefore Devaki symbolically represents bhakti, because the Lord, after all, took birth from Devaki. So she symbolically represents bhakti. And Kamsa symbolically represents material fear. When a pure devotee always fears material association, his real position of bhakti is manifested, and he naturally becomes uninterested in material enjoyment. When the 6 sons of Marichi are killed by such fear, and one is freed from the material contamination within the womb of bhakti, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears. Very important to know this. Unless the bhakti, it's Prabhupada, when the 6 sons of Marichi from the mind, this Marichi is produced, Marichi is an incarnation of the mind. And the 6 sons of mind are, 6 sons of Marichi are Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Unless they are killed by such fear and one is freed from the material contamination within the womb of bhakti, Supreme Personality of Godhead will not appear. Thus, the 7th pregnancy of Devaki signifies the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After the 6 sons, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, are killed, the Shesha incarnation, Lord Balaram, creates a suitable situation for the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, when one awakens his natural Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna appears. This is the explanation given by Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura. This is what Prabhupada writes in the purport. It is a very important thing to pay attention to these words of Prabhupada and the significance of Lord Balaram in our life. The reason being, as Prabhupada is mentioning, that unless the 6 sons of our mind are cleansed, are dead, and the womb of bhakti, I mean, if it is not prepared, I mean, so Lord Balaram comes to prepare the heart for the divine appearance of Krishna. So the 6 sons, Kama, Krodha, etc., are the weaknesses of our hearts. To remove these weaknesses, we need strength. Weakness can be countered by strength. Right? So to remove these weaknesses, we need the strength or bala, and this is supplied by Guru. We don't have the strength on our own. We lack the strength. That is why we are here in this material world. That is why we are victims of our mind and senses. That is why we need the strength. And the strength, Guru is also very heavy. So he gives that strength. The original Guru is none other than Lord Sri Balaram. Once all the weaknesses of our hearts are removed by the spiritual strength received from Lord Balaram, then we have the peace, then we have the space to invite Lord Sri Krishna into our hearts and render devotional service unto him. Unless these weaknesses in the hearts are removed, and to remove these weaknesses, we need the spiritual strength from Lord Balaram, the original spiritual master, and his representative, the Guru. There will not be any space in the heart for the Lord to appear. And this particular point is very nicely further explained by Prabhupada in another place in the 7th canto, 15th chapter, 45th verse. In this verse, this actually is, the chapter is called the Instructions for Civilized People, something like that. Civilized people, okay. And this is a conversation which is happening between Narad Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Narad Muni is telling, Yavan nirkaya ratham atma basopakalpam dhatte garishtha charanaya nisatam jnanasim achyuta balo dadhad asta satruhu swananda tushta upasanta idam bijahyat. So the translation of this verse is, as long as one has to accept a material body with its different parts and paraphernalia, which are not fully under one's control, one must have the lotus feet of his superiors, namely his spiritual master and the spiritual master's predecessors. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge. And with the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's mercy, one must then conquer the enemies mentioned above. In this way, the devotee should be able to merge into his own transcendental bliss, and then he may give up his body and resume his spiritual identity. Why this verse is so important, I'll tell you in a minute, because in the purport, Prabhupada very beautifully explains the role of Balaram and Bala in our life. But if you see this verse little closely, Prabhupada is saying, as long as one has to accept a material body with its different parts and paraphernalia, which are not fully under one's control. How did we get this material body? What kind of a body we got? Nobody has control. Nobody. So the parts and the parts and paraphernalia of the bodies, some mind is given fitted, some kinds of chitta is there, and we're entrapped in this space called body for this lifetime, this time. So we don't have a control. One, so that's why the recommendation, one must have the lotus feet of his superiors, namely his spiritual master and the spiritual master's predecessors. One must have. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge. Pay attention to this word. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge. What is the knowledge referred to here in this verse? Bhagavad Tattva Prabhu? Why you need to sharpen this? See, the knowledge about the Lord in the form of Vedic scriptures are available always. Mankind is never bereft of that. Bhagavad Gita's instructions are available. We as initiated disciples are supposed to read these books thoroughly. What is lacking is, even though the knowledge, the sword of knowledge is there, which can cut the knots of material attachments, unfortunately, it is not sharp. If the sword is not sharp, then it cannot cut the knots. Not that per se they are not sharp. The sharpening actually depends on us. So here it is mentioned, by their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge, and with the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's mercy, one must conquer the enemies mentioned above. In this way, the devotee should be able to merge into his own transcendental bliss, and then he may give up his body and resume his spiritual identity. Actually, this verse is a very important verse, very nice verse spoken by Narad Muni. So here he's telling, if you see, Yavan Nirkaya Ratham, the human form of body is compared with a chariot. Right? So this is not unknown to us. We know this. So when we have got this beautiful human form of body, as Bhagavatam mentions, Nirdeha Madhyam Sulabham Sudurlabham Plabam Sukalpam Guru Karnadharam Mayanu Kulena Nabhasvataritam Puman Bhavadbhi Nataret Saatmaha. This human form of body is the most valuable boat for and to cross over this material ocean. And fortunately, the spiritual master, the captain, Guru Karnadharam, is there to guide us, guide this boat in plying across the ocean of nations. Then there is the instruction of Krishna, which is available as a favorable breeze. One must use all these facilities to cross over the ocean of nations. Since the spiritual master is the captain, one must have the spiritual master very sincerely. One must serve him, so that by his mercy, one will be able to get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, a significant word used here is called Achyuta Bala. If you see the third line, Jnanasim Achyuta Bala. right? So a significant word here is Achyuta Bala. The spiritual master is certainly very merciful to his disciples, and consequently, by satisfying him, a devotee gets strength from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Guru Krishna Prasad Paye Bhaktilata Bij. One must first please the spiritual master, and then one automatically pleases Krishna and gets the strength with which to cross the ocean of nations. If one seriously desires to return home, one has to be serious, return home back to Godhead, one must therefore become strong enough by pleasing the spiritual master. For thus one gets the weapon with which to conquer the enemy, and one also gets the grace of Krishna. So pleasing spiritual master, serving spiritual master is very important if we really want to cross the ocean of nations and go back home, back to Godhead. Simply getting the weapon of jnana is insufficient. One must sharpen the weapon by serving the spiritual master and adhering to his instructions. We take initiation and we don't show up. Initiation मिल गया, अभी क्या करना है? हो गया, अभी तो हो गया. One must sharpen the weapon by serving the spiritual master and adhering to his instructions. Actually, it is a very, it's not some the responsibility of guru and the responsibility of a disciple. Both are there. It's a partnership. It's an agreement where the Lord, where the guru is promising to take back home, back to Godhead the disciple, provided that the disciple wants to follow the instructions. He's ready. One must sharpen the weapon by serving the spiritual master and adhering to his instructions. Then the candidate will get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In general warfare, one must take help from his chariot and horses in order to conquer his enemy. And after conquering his enemies, he may give up the chariot and his paraphernalia. Similarly, as long as one has a human body, one should fully use it to obtain the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to Godhead. Then Prabhupada quotes, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nasochati Nakangshati Samah Sarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhaktim Lavate Param. Perfection of knowledge is certainly to become transcendentally situated, Brahma Bhuta. And then he says, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati Yavan Yaschasmi Tattvataha. That only by bhakti we can know the Lord. But very importantly, if you see that word, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati Yavan Yaschasmi Tattvataha. The word Tattvataha is there in that. Right? One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is only by devotional service. So we have to know the Lord Tattvataha. That Tattva is a very important thing, because the first verse which I told, whenever there is an appearance of the Lord, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Yo Betti Tattvataha. Again, the same word is used there. We may know about the appearance of the Lord, we may know about his activities from here and there, but we need to know it in Tattvataha. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. And then comes the real role which is played by Balaram. And Prabhupada explains in the purport, the word Tattvataha, meaning in reality, is very important. Tato mam tattvato gyatva. Unless one understands Krishna in truth, by the mercy of spiritual master, one is not free to give up his material body. As it is said, Aruhya Krichena Param Padam Tatah Patanti Adho. So, Aruhya Krichena Param Padam Tatah Patanti Adho. If one neglects to serve the lotus feet of Krishna, one cannot become free from the material clutches simply by knowledge. Simple knowledge, mere knowledge that I am not this body, I am spirit, soul, there is a spiritual world, is not enough unless one is engaged in devotional service. Even if one attains the stage of Brahma Padam, merging in Brahman, without bhakti, he is prone to fall down. One must be very careful in regard to the danger of falling down again into material bondage. The only insurance is to come to the stage of bhakti, from which one is sure not to fall. Then one is free from the activities of the material world. In summary, as stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, One must get in touch with a bona fide spiritual master coming in the parampara of Krishna consciousness, for by his mercy and instructions, one is able to get the strength from Krishna. Thus, one engages in devotional service and attains the ultimate goal of life, the lotus feet of Vishnu. In the purport, the next paragraph, actually Prabhupada says something which is very, very interesting. He's telling that significant in this verse are the words Jnana sim achyuta balaha. Jnana asi. Asi is the sword and Jnana is the knowledge. The sword of knowledge is given by Krishna. And when one serves the Guru and Krishna, in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, Balaram gives one strength. So Balaram will give the strength when one serves the Guru and Krishna. When will Balaram give the strength?
When we are inquiring about the truth from our spiritual master.
You heard?
When one serves Lord Krishna and Guru.
Yeah. So the answer is very simple. The sword of knowledge is given by Krishna, and when one serves the Guru and Krishna, in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, Balaram gives one strength. To hold that sword also you need strength. But when one serves the Guru and Krishna, in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, Balaram gives one strength. Balaram is Nityananda. Brajendra Nandana Yai Sachisuta Haila Sei. Balaram Haila Nitai. The Balaram comes with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And both of them are so merciful that in this age of Kali, one may very easily take shelter of their lotus feet. They come especially to deliver the fallen souls of this age. Papi Tapi Yata Chila Harinama Uddharila. Their weapon is Sankirtana, Harinam. Thus, one should accept the sword of knowledge from Krishna and be strong with the mercy of Balaram. So you need the knowledge, that is the sword of Krishna, and you need the mercy of Balaram to sharpen it, to hold it. We are therefore worshipping Krishna, Balaram, and Vrindavan. And then Prabhupada quotes in the Mundaka Upanishad. Actually, whenever Lord Balaram's mention comes, this verse is often quoted. This is from Mundaka Upanishad. Nayam Atma Balahinena Labhyo. Nacha Pramadat Tapaso Vapi Alingat. Nayam Atma Balahinena Labhyo. One cannot attain the goal of life without the mercy of Balaram. Nayam Atma Balahinena Labhyo. Without the spiritual strength, without mercy of Lord Balaram, the spiritual goal is not achievable. One cannot achieve it. And then Prabhupada quotes Narottam Das Thakur, therefore says, Nitaira Karuna Habe, Braje Radha Krishna Pabe. When one receives the mercy of Balaram, Nityananda, one can attain the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna very easily. Nitaira Karuna Habe, Braje Radha Krishna Pabe. Only when one receives the mercy of Balaram, Nityananda, one can attain the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna very easily. And then he goes on to say the same words further. Sei sambandha nahi yar, britha janma gela tar. Vidya kule hi korive tara. If one has no connection with Nitai, Balaram, then even though one is a very learned scholar or Jnani or has taken birth in a very respectable family, these assets will not help him. We must therefore conquer the enemies of Krishna consciousness with the strength received from Balaram. Very clear, very crystal clear the position of Lord Balaram and what does he do from these verses that we spoke. Which verse we spoke? You attentive? You're hearing? Okay. 7th canto?
10th canto, 10.2.13.
Okay. 10th canto, 2nd chapter, 13th verse, we spoke as the verse at the beginning, but I quoted a verse which is little earlier than that. Moving on, if we have to know something more about Balaram and his activities, there are wonderful activities which are described in Bhagavatam. I want to share with the time that we have. Maybe I don't know, I have got a lot of pastimes, but let's see how much we can do. The first one that I want to highlight here is Lord Balaram killing Romaharshana Sutta. Who is Romaharshana Sutta? Bhagavad Tattva Prabhu. You have heard Romaharshana Sutta? Parikshit, who narrated to Parikshit? Okay. Sutta Goswami was there in the audience when Sukadev Goswami was narrating, but he's not related to Sukadev Goswami. The Sutta Goswami who was narrating, he is the son of Romaharshana Sutta. Okay, so this is a very interesting pastime, and I want to first tell you the pastime, and then we will see what are the learnings from this. This is Lord Balaram's chastisement of Romaharshana. Right? As we have been seeing in Bhagavatam, Abhichyuta Artha, the only infallible goal of life should be how to glorify the Lord. So it's a wonderful opportunity to hear the glories of Lord Balaram, getting whatever little time that we have. If we are able to hear his glories, it's just unbelievable. So this example, this pastime, it is narrated in Bhagavatam. It talks about, we just heard about Lord Balaram's mercy, that Lord Balaram's mercy is required to sharpen that sword, to remove that weakness, to create the space. So let us just see how this this incident happened, where a person is killed, and what happened after that. So Lord Balaram killed this Romaharshana, where in front of all the sages who have assembled and who were very eager to hear about the Supreme Lord. This was supposed to be a discourse where he was supposed to speak, and they were very much aggrieved. And Lord Balaram didn't, and the sages didn't hesitate in pointing out that the killing of a Brahmana is not appropriate by the Lord. And they humbly submitted that the Lord is not bound by any rules and regulations, but however, he has to purify this impious act, although he is the embodiment of all religious principles. This is a very interesting thing, because the Brahmanas who were there, who were eager to hear, pointing out to the Lord that this was not done right because he's a Brahmana. So how do we understand this thing? There is there's a very important lesson which I want to drive from this incident. The sages actually had blessed Romaharshana Sutta with a long duration of life. With 1,000 years of sacrifice, they had blessed him with a long duration of life and sensory power to execute the 1,000-year yajna. And he was appointed as the chief priest for this great sacrifice. We know that the Vedic principles cannot be applied to the Lord because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But still they're suggesting that you should do some penance because you killed a Brahmana. And how did the Lord react? Of course, first thing we need to know is, why did the Lord kill him? What was it that made the Lord kill Romaharshana Sutta? So this is very interesting. And how did he kill him? He killed him with a kusha grass, right? With just a kusha grass, he killed him. So this was the arena where this Romaharshana Sutta was heading this sacrifice, and all the sages have were seated there. And Lord Balaram enters into that arena, and when he entered into that arena, he saw that all the sages, everybody got up, everybody, excluding the speaker who was seated on the Vyasasana. He thought, since I'm seated on the Vyasasana at an elevated seat, I don't need to come out of that and pay respect to Lord Balaram. Now, Lord Balaram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's not some ordinary person for whom, one may have the discretion whether to come out and pay respect, but it is the Supreme Lord who has arrived in that arena. Unfortunately, Roma Harshana Sutta thought himself to be very wise and not befitting to come down of his Vyasasana to pay respects to Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram, we know this sentence, the English proverb which says, "Pride comes before a fall." Just took a kusha grass and touched his neck, and he was beheaded immediately. So, this small pastime, what we can learn from this? The first point that we can learn from this is, from this pastime, is devotees should never get puffed up with the Vedic knowledge and be pretentious in executing devotional service. Should never get puffed up because we get some knowledge. This knowledge is borrowed knowledge. This is not our knowledge. And if we start feeling puffed up that I know so much, the whole world is ignorant, and I can, my knowledge is, I'm superior, and we act in that manner, in a pretentious manner, and not execute devotional service, it only leads to our fall. So if you see the pastime of Roma Harshana sitting in the Vyasasana, neither he greeted the Supreme Lord Balaram nor paid any respects. And Prabhupada writes in Krishna book that any man can be given the chance to become a Brahmana, but if he improperly uses the position of a Brahmana without actual realization, then his elevation to the Brahmanical position is not valid. We are all given chance by our spiritual master for Harinam and Brahmanical initiation. And if we don't behave as prescribed in the scriptures, then our position is not valid. So Prabhupada says these initiations have no validity if we don't follow the scriptures in our day-to-day activities. This means our pretentious devotional service should be stopped at once, and sincere devotional service has to be practiced. If we don't perform sincere devotional service, then it tantamounts to disobey the orders of spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. Roma Harshana is killed by the Lord, and in our case, we will put in dangerous condition of forgetting the Lord and devotional service. That is the reason humility is not part of devotional service, but it is the heart of devotional service. First lesson is actually, humility is not that it's also required in devotionals. It's the core thing. Trinadapi sunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Prabhupada is saying we will be put into forgetfulness of Lord and devotional service. All great acharyas like Narottam Das Thakur says that I am the most fallen. And how we can brag ourselves as disciples of so and so without proper behavior? This is the main lesson we could learn from this. We may know so many shlokas, we may know so many things, but if that doesn't reflect in our behavior, then it becomes pretentious. One more reason for getting puffed up is because half-baked knowledge and realization of scriptures. And this can be mitigated by the thorough study of scriptures, thorough study with full of contemplation and application. Otherwise, it is very easy to get this feeling I'm a senior devotee. I have been initiated by Prabhupada, and I just can't do anything that I like. First thing we were hearing the other day, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Suni Chena. Very good. Vidya Vinaya. When the transcendental knowledge comes in somebody's heart, he becomes Vinaya. He becomes humble, humility. The second thing that we can see from this wonderful pastime is Lord and pure devotees are always transcendental and supreme. Therefore, they are never under the estimate of any circumstances. We have to understand two things. our position and the Lord's transcendental position. They're not the same. We are conditioned. We have a tiny independence, but we are not fully independent like the Lord. Swaraj. No. We should understand what is our, we are servitor of the Supreme Absolute Truth, Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Master. Once we understand this perfectly, it keeps us humble in all circumstances. Otherwise, if this conception is not clear that Jivera Swarubhaya Nitya Krishna Das, that I am a servant of the Lord in all circumstances, if that is not clear, then we will act like master. We will boss over. We will try to lord over things. We should always be obeying and respecting the master. Never try to be the master of ourselves. So this is a very important thing. So understanding the position of the Lord and understanding our position. And it is also applicable while dealing with other devotees. We may not know that, a devotee, he may be a neophyte, he may be, starting, but he can become an advanced devotee or a pure devotee in this very lifetime. And we should not take any person for granted. We have to see that in everything there is energy of Krishna. Therefore, everything has to be handled carefully and not neglectfully. There is a verse which is there in same connection, 10th canto, 78th chapter, 33 verse. There it is mentioned, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Charishye Baddha Nirvesham Lokanu Graha Kamyaya. The personality of God had said, I will certainly perform the atonement for this killing, since I wish to show compassion to the people in general. Please therefore prescribe for me whatever ritual is to be done first. So this verse, why it is so significant? Because this verse is spoken by Lord Balaram himself. So Lord Balaram is accepting his position that, okay, you prescribe as per the Vedic injunctions what has to be done. So the third point is, Lord is the owner of all our strength, stamina, sensory power, and life duration. All these words are used in that translation. The sages were aggrieved at the killing of Romaharshana, as they have already blessed long duration of life and strength for him. The Lord, understanding the sages' concern, immediately reassured them that he will restore the stamina, strength, and sensory power to Romaharshana. Srimad Bhagavatam confirms this by the verse that, when he said, O sages, just say the word, and by my mystic power, I shall restore everything you promised him, long life, strength, and sensory power. So if we really want strength, whatever is mentioned here, long life, strength, and sensory power, that is what we all are looking for, right? So if we are looking for, we are completely dependent on Lord for all our strength, stamina, and sensory power. If we are so completely dependent on the Lord, isn't it not right on our part to reciprocate his mercy? The body with the bones, blood, stool, and urine does not have any value to give strength, stamina, and sensory power. It is due to the presence of the soul. And the soul is present in the body due to the presence of the super soul. Confirms these statements. When a man is sleeping, all his material assets, namely the vital energy, the senses for recording knowledge, the senses for working, the mind, the intelligence cannot arouse him. He can be aroused only when the super soul helps him. Prabhupada often says, when we sleep in the night and when we get up in the morning, we have a capacity to go to sleep, but the waking up in the morning is completely dependent on super soul. Our fasting, ability to preach, ability to do things nicely, and for everything in our life, we are completely dependent on the Lord. And Arjuna confirms this point in Srimad Bhagavatam when the Lord withdrew his power by which he was able to win over the war at Kurukshetra, and all the best of the Rathis, Maharathis, Atirathis were killed by Arjuna, could not even protect the wives of Krishna. So everything that we have is coming from the Lord. So this point is so important, that the Lord is actually the owner of all our strength, stamina, sensory power, and life duration. Then never express our own concocted opinion. When the sages of the Naimisharanya requested that the killing of Romaharshana by this Kusha weapon by the Lord, and they requested that what should we do? We had assembled here. The Lord actually solved the problem, this unique problem, by his own. Lord can solve all the complicated problems. So they said this is not done, and what should be done? And then the Lord actually replies, Balaram replies in 10:78:36, the Vedas instruct us that one's own self takes birth again as one's son. Thus let Romaharshana's son become the speaker of the Puranas, and let him be endowed with long life, strong senses, and stamina. So the solution that he gave was he empowered his son. Whose son? He gave him all the strength, stamina, and the strong senses so that he can become the speaker. So, but one thing which we have to see is Balaram is also quoting Vedas. As per the Vedas instruct us that one's own self takes birth again as one son. So the Supreme Lord himself is quoting the Vedas to substantiate his statement, even though he is the source of all Vedic knowledge. Whatever statements he gives becomes the Vedas, but still the Lord quotes the Vedic injunctions that father takes rebirth as son, and they are non-different. While executing the preaching service, we have to be very careful to always quote from the Shastras to substantiate our own point. We can't concoct, as per my opinion, this should be right. As per his, this thing, it can be done like this. No. If we express our own opinion through mental concoction, then it becomes useless. So this is the fourth point. Then the fifth one, which can be learned from this, how to deal with senior devotees, elders, or sannyasis and the Supreme Lord. So even though the Lord Balaram has killed Romaharshana, who is a Brahmana, how did the sages address the Lord? While addressing the Lord, it is not like they're bluntly pointing out. They are very carefully addressing the Lord. Very, very carefully saying, maybe there is a mistake here. So if you see this verse, 10:78, 31, and 32. So there, these two verses, the sages are saying, you have unknowingly killed a Brahmana. Of course, even the injunctions of a revealed scripture cannot dictate to you, the Lord of all mystic power. But if by your own free will, you nonetheless carry out the prescribed purification for this slaying of a Brahmana, O purifier of the whole world, people in general will greatly benefit by your example. So it's a great lesson to be learned from this, how the sages are putting forward this thing for the Lord. They're telling, of course, you have unknowingly killed a Brahmana. Of course, even the injunctions of revealed scripture cannot dictate to you, the Lord of all mystic powers. But if by your own free will, you nonetheless carry out the prescribed purification for the slaying of a Brahmana, or purifier of the whole world, people in general will greatly benefit by your example. The sages are very careful in addressing the Lord about the accidental killing of the Brahmana Romaharshana. So while dealing with senior devotees, while dealing with elders, while dealing with sannyasis or who are advanced, we have to be also careful with our dealings. Since the sages have found out the mistake and pointed out to the Lord, we cannot take that stand and find out mistakes in others. First of all, we are not that much advanced or qualified as the exalted sages of Naimisharanya. And with respect to elders and senior devotees, actually, it is very difficult to understand the activities of a Vaishnava. Of course, that doesn't mean that somebody is doing something grossly wrong and you just keep quiet or close your eyes. Not like that. So better to avoid judging them. In case one wants to address the mistakes of a senior devotee, we should humbly submit our opinion, not with the attitude of pointing fingers, but out of genuine concern for the senior devotee. We should not put them down, especially in front of others. It may become an offense, and there is no recourse to it. These are the words written by the disciples of Prabhupada, and this is the purport to this. In case of elders, they are part and parcel of Krishna, and hence better avoid offending them in any way. As regards the Lord, any reverse situation in our life, we immediately blame the Lord. The Lord is not personally present, so it is convenient for us to blame, find fault with the Lord. But we can take clue from the life of Queen Kunti, where she was put into so many reversals, difficulties, calamities, and she's still praying, Vipada Santu Satswat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru. Let these calamities come again and again in my life, because it gives me an opportunity to remember the Lord, to glorify the Lord. Right. So this is the fifth one. Sixth one, accountability for offenses, mistakes committed during our execution of devotional service. This is another great example from this small incident, which we can learn. If you see the verse 1078:33, same in continuation. The Lord is telling, I will certainly perform the atonement for this killing. Since I wish to show compassion to the people in general, please therefore prescribe for me whatever ritual is to be done first. This is the Lord acknowledging he has done a mistake. I will certainly perform the atonement for this killing. Since I wish to show compassion to the people in general, please therefore prescribe for me whatever ritual is to be done first. And in that, there is a word used called charishye, which is very significant. Even after studying Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam for so many years, we are not ready to follow Lord's orders. We hesitate a lot to accept our mistake and perform the atonement. Nobody is free from mistakes, but to try to justify, cover it up, do something, not show, because my position should be maintained in the eyes of people, is actually a fallacy, is a myth. The Lord is so particular that immediately he became ready to execute whatever atonement the sages suggested for the killing of Romaharshana. He is not bound by any rules and regulations of the Shastras. And the Lord also is, he can afford to be the very, egoistic, because he is after all the Lord. But he is showing by his own example that how an egoistic personality cannot discuss about Srimad Bhagavatam to the sages. It is a gross offense by Romaharshana at the lotus feet of the Lord. And so Lord had to mercifully punish him. In spite of that, the Lord never thought that he is the supreme and why he has to agree to that, to the statement of the sages. Even in the pastimes of Sanat Kumar, if we see, when they were prevented by Jai Vijay to enter into the Vaikuntha planet, and then the Sanat Kumaras, the four Kumaras, they cursed Jai Vijay to take birth as Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and for 3 births. So when that was happening, when the argument was going on, cursing was going on, the Lord appeared there and he said, actually, it is not their fault, it is my fault. Please forgive them because they are my servants and it is not their fault. With utmost humility. Say, a wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin. So we are serving our glorious spiritual master. If a wrong act is performed by us, the blame goes to Srila Prabhupada. So we have to be so much careful. And we have to acknowledge our mistake. If the Lord himself can accept out of humility, if he can accept that, okay, I have done a mistake and is ready to perform the atonement. Actually, Balaram does the atonement. Why can't we do this? We are so much insignificant and we are so ordinary human beings that we are prone to errors. And it is, what are the 4 defects? Hmm? And what are the other three? Cheating tendency. Then let's see as told. What is the fourth one, Hari? Let's do our discussion. Mistakes. What is the fourth one? Subject to illusion. We are subject to illusion. So we should never forget our positions. We are really nothing. We are insignificant, ordinary human beings. We are prone to mistakes. That is one of the symptoms of a conditioned living entity. So if the Lord can accept his mistake, why can't we? So the main thing to be understood from this pastime is that, especially in devotional service, we got to accept our mistakes. It's a sign of humility. It's a sign of humbleness. Yes, I've done a mistake. There's nothing, no harm. After accepting the mistake, we need to take concrete steps for rectification of those mistakes. And this is also important. Just accept, yeah, my mistake. Take it. I tod diya, bas tod diya. Now I chala. Not just tod diya is a very simple gross thing. But some other dealings where we hesitate because of our false ego, because of our pride, we don't want to accept mistakes. So it is important to accept the mistakes and then take some steps for rectification. We should try our best not to repeat the mistake again. And we should not try to cover up our mistakes, follies and mistakes with logical arguments or with something trying to cover up. नहीं मैं गलती कैसे कर सकता हूँ? मैं तो दुनिया में lot may do mistakes, but I can't do mistakes. And we should not try to blame the person who is finding fault with us or take revenge by quoting his mistakes done. तुम क्या था? मेरे को बोल रहा है. Lord is making us humble in accepting our mistakes. As our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada says, blame yourselves. 100% of the problems disappear immediately. 100%. Blame yourselves. Anyway, the last one is ready to accept instructions from all without discrimination. So here you can see the position that Lord is accepting the instruction from the sages. Right? Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not obliged to hear. He could have just walked out of that place, but he is willing to accept the instructions given by even the sages. He never discriminated that these are spoken by some ordinary sages. Why should I listen to them? Right? So he is telling, please tell me, you desire what should be done. I'll fulfill it. So in our case also, we don't want to accept instructions from anybody, especially when we become so-called senior devotee. Now I'll not accept anyone. So we spend years of time in Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, we don't pay attention to the weeds that grow along with it. As we can see, it's a simple example, simple thing. But a very important thing can be learned from this if we really want to learn. Otherwise, we can come and sleep and go or do something present here physically. Mind will be in some other place. And our devotional life also continues like that. No eagerness, no excitement, no happiness, trying to cheat, do some things, not acknowledge mistakes. So here it is mentioned that we should be prepared to hear. We should be prepared to hear from the senior devotees. Otherwise, what will happen is, if we are not able to accept instructions, this is what exactly happened in the case of Romaharshana Sutta. And Lord Balaram is not satisfied by this kind of behavior. We have to shed our ego at some stage, or otherwise, how are we going to achieve the lotus feet of the Lord? In Goloka Vrindavan, even a plant is sentient. He has life, it's a personality, and can give instructions. And if we are not able to tolerate it, then that's how do we get a position in Goloka Vrindavan then? So I have some more to share. I'll just take maybe 5-10 minutes. But on this occasion, when we are concluding this particular incident from Balaram's life, from his Leelas, one should pray to Lord Balaram from the core of heart, sincerely, on his appearance day, to Srila Prabhupada, to imbibe the lessons that we just discussed, because saying also is easy, so that we can practice it with utmost care, so that there is a meaning for the word initiation. As I told, if we are not ready to get disciplined, then the word initiation also doesn't hold true. That will be really a sign of advancement. I'll quickly go to, there are many other examples or many other wonderful pastimes of Lord killing various demons and what they represent. Prabhupada explains in the purport very beautifully, especially with this Dhenukasura. I wanted to talk about it maybe some other time, but I wanted to come to this thing because we are running short of time. You see, this is a very important thing, and this is where Lord Balaram's role in our life is so pivotal. Prabhupada uses this word many a times: make the best use of the bad bargain. Bad bargain is we have got a body. Bad bargain is we have got a mindset. Bad bargain is my heart is filled with all the anarthas. Bad bargain is I am not getting a taste for bhakti. Bad bargain is even though I know it is important to hear attentively with submissively, rapt attention. When I sit in Bhagavatam class, I feel sleepy. Bad bargain is I find excuses for running out of Bhagavatam class. Bad bargain is I don't attend this. Or when it comes to chanting, I'm not able to chant attentively. My mind goes all over the places. I'm solving problems in my mind. I'm looking at mobile. I'm going and sleeping. I'm doing all kinds of things. These are all bad bargain. But how do we make the best use of this bad bargain? What can we do? To understand this, I actually want to quote one shloka from, not the shloka, it's a letter which is written by one Mataji to Prabhupada, and very, very interesting letter. So first, let me see what Prabhupada is saying, what Prabhupada has written to her. And then I will say what she had written in response to that letter. Prabhupada is telling this. So this is a letter written by a devotee, Mataji. Her name is Krishna Vilasini Dasi. Please pay attention to this response of Prabhupada. Prabhupada is saying, please accept my blessings. I am in due receipt of your letter dated October 13th, 1976. So Prabhupada, it's just, towards the end. As long as the body will be there, there will only be pain. As long as the body will be there, there will only be pain. Pleasure is only a misconception. Do not be sorry if you are in an unfortunate situation. It can also be fortunate if you take advantage by becoming serious to become Krishna conscious. Follow the regulative principles. Chant 16 rounds, and as far as possible, render service and study my books. Success is sure. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Now, I want to tell you the context in which this letter is drafted by Prabhupada, and why Prabhupada has written this. This is about this Mataji, Krishna Vilasini Mataji. So she had written the letter to Prabhupada explaining her debilitating situation. There is a muscular disorder, and for the which she was suffering for last 2 years, and she had become she was not able to move, and she was almost like she was restricted to her bed or whatever her room. She was not able to do. She was barely able to talk and had almost lost the use of her arms and legs. And the letter that she had written is, reading is very difficult, but I force the issue because I am afraid I may not finish your books before I die. Lamenting that she was unable to do even the simplest service, she wrote, I am humbly asking if there is any way at all to regain even enough health to be able to sit and engage in some simple service. If it is my destiny to live a long time in this condition, I am begging and crying that you will mercifully benedict me with spiritual strength to remain always at your lotus feet. You see, it's a very humble mood. Actually, she is understanding her position and she's telling, I'm now bedridden. I'm not able to even sit. Prabhupada, what if I die without finishing your books? And so she's asking, can you, I'm humbly asking if there is any way at all to regain even enough health to be able to sit and engage in some simple service. If it is my destiny to live long in this condition, I'm begging and crying that you will mercifully benedict me with spiritual strength to remain always at your lotus feet. And Prabhupada is answering like this, that as long as the body will be there, there will only be pain. Pleasure is only a misconception. So do not be worried. Do not feel sorry if you are in an unfortunate, quote unquote, unfortunate situation. Today something is there, tomorrow something will happen. Our situation can never be fortunate as long as we have accepted our material bodies. This is what is our situation. But what do we do? But Prabhupada is saying, it can also be fortunate if you take advantage by becoming serious to become Krishna conscious. Follow the regulative principles, chant 16 rounds, and as far as possible render service. Study my books. So another place Prabhupada says, actually this body is Roga Mandiram. This is a temple of diseases. So if it is a temple of diseases, how can we expect to be comfortable and comfortably stay here in this place? So that is why this is called a bad bargain. But also Srila Prabhupada is showing how we can make the best use of a bad bargain. There is a purport of a Bhagavatam verse 1.5.33, which we are going to see in some time now. Prabhupada says, the best 1.5.33, the best way to make the best use of a bad bargain is to use everything in relation with the Supreme Lord. Everything is an emanation from the Supreme Spirit, and by his inconceivable power, he can convert spirit into matter and matter into spirit. Therefore, a material thing, so-called, is at once turned into a spiritual force by the great will of the Lord. The necessary condition for such a change is to employ so-called matter in the service of the spirit. That is the way to treat our material diseases and elevate ourselves to the spiritual plane where there is no misery, no lamentation, and no fear. All of us have got some bad bargain, somebody, something we have got. But the best use of bad bargain is when we are using that bad bargain in relationship with the Lord, in service of the Lord, because he can transform matter into spirit and vice versa. Right? So there are countless examples. There is one example of one story of one devotee which I had heard in Nathadwara. There was one devotee who was falsely accused of pilfering or stealing some money from the king's treasure house, and he was put into the prison. He was actually innocent. He was not the one who had done this, but very by whatever circumstances, the king thought he's guilty and he put him behind the bars. Now this prisoner, this devotee who was put behind the bars, even though he was not really at fault, he didn't get agitated or upset. And he made the best use of bad bargain by writing a beautiful composition glorifying Lord Srinathji. And by the time he completed his work, the Lord made necessary arrangements in the heart of that king. And the king realized actually that to change his mind, and the devotee was released. Parikshit Maharaj similarly was cursed to die in 7 days' time. He was healthy, he was powerful, he was protected by the Lord, in mother's womb at the time of his birth, but he was cursed to die in 7 days' time. And he made the best use of bad bargain by this in the form of Stringy's curse, which came. That was really a bad bargain by listening to Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days. So the lesson to be learned from these devotees, this Krishna Vilasini Mataji or Parikshit Maharaj or that Nathadwara devotee, is that adversities will always hit upon us. This life itself is not it's not really a bed of roses, right? There are only thorns here. But if we endeavor to serve the Lord, even in that adverse situation, then by the grace of Guru and Krishna, if we endeavor to serve, that's why I was telling yesterday, I will try to serve. That is the mood. I will try. Not that I can't, I'm not, I'll try. So the endeavor to serve, if we endeavor to serve the Lord, even in that adverse situation, then by the grace of Guru and Krishna, we should be able to transcend the effect of such miseries. So on this auspicious occasion of Lord Balaram's appearance on Balaram Purnima Day, on Balaram Jayanti Day, let us pray. Let us pray to Lord Balaram at his lotus feet, at the lotus feet of Prabhupada, that let Srila Balaram, Srila Prabhupada bestow all the strength and the sanity to be engaged in their service under all circumstances. What else we can do? We need that strength. And without that strength, Krishna is not going to come. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. From the purports. 10, 78, 33, 30, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. Not all of them fully, just put it in some things. Any question? Yes, bro. Yeah, I mean, instructions from all doesn't mean that a drunkard who's going on the road, you will listen to him. Of course, there is discrimination in that. But in spiritual life also, maybe the word instruction is not the right word, but at least the willingness to hear, whoever he may be, who's engaged in devotional service, who's trying to tell something, and not just have a deaf ears, is an important thing. Any other questions? No question? No. Yeah, that is why our position as Jiber Swarup and Nitya Krishna Das is an important thing to ingrain in one's mind. I'm actually tiny, insignificant. See, the idea to lord over is there in everybody. Not that one has and one doesn't have. Everybody has. That's the reason we are here, first of all. Ichha, Dvesha, Samuthena. Ichha is that lord over. I want to control. I want to be the controller of the whole thing. But our true position, that's why reading very scrutinizingly these things and contemplating on those things, seeing how to apply this is not overnight thing. And as um, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sakishvana, right? Sometimes some issues which are so insignificant and trivial becomes very important in our life. So important that we are ready to give up devotional life and go and do something else. We don't mind even. So that time we should remember, we should remind the goal of coming here is not that I want to prove my point or show that how intelligent I am. We didn't come here for that. We came here for Krishna Prem. We came here to achieve something which is very lofty. But when you think of that, all these are, what is this going on? Yeah. But to remind one of that insignificant nature of one's, one has to contemplate on it. We tend to forget. So, say repeated hearing. So that is why Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita's instructions are not some theoretical instructions to be read on Saturday, Sunday. Monday to Friday, I'll do my thing. I'll come and hear, theek hai, acha hai, and I'll go. It's one life. It's the same life that we are living. There is no one life in temple and one life outside. So the more we come close to that one life, more we live as there is no duplicitous in that integrity is there, the more we develop these things. And as Prabhupada is saying in the one place that, the disciples' fault, nobody will see. They'll say, if they get to know it, it's a blame for the spiritual master. So we need to know what are the actual expectations of the qualities of an ideal Vaishnava. We hear so many things, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, but there are practical things also required in our Vaishnava etiquette and mannerisms. Humility cannot be trained to someone. You become humble. You can't train it. It has to come by hearing, by seeing this example, by hearing from their lives, by seeing the example of the Lord himself demonstrating in his life, accepting the mistake. Not just here, and many times, even in the cases of that four Kumaras and Jai Vijay, he came out of his abode and he said, no, I beg forgiveness on their behalf. So tolerance and humility, that's why Trinadapi Sunichena Darori Vasaishvana, it's actually hitting the nail on the head. Otherwise, Kirtaniya Sadhari, it will affect us. Kirtaniya Sadhari is very difficult. Of course, the other two are little easier. Amanina Manadena. Amanina also is difficult. Not expect respect is not easy. But giving respect is still, I would say, the easiest of the four, in my opinion. I don't know what others think. At least you can give respect to someone who's doing some service. But the easiest of the three, of the four. Superficially doing will, that's flattery. That's not good. And that will fall flat. The other person will realize that you're just doing it for genuinely appreciating a person for doing what he is doing. So some of the things are applicable for us, some of the things are applicable for others. What we do is the things which are applicable for us, we don't apply it ourselves. We say, no, I'm perfect. Usme problem hai, wo waisa baat karta hai. Actually applicable for me. And the things which are applicable for others, like I have to give a respect to others, that we expect, why is he not giving respect? You should give, no? So the thing has to change. I have to, Prabhupada saying the 100% blame is there within ourselves. Anyway, these are all, at least to know is good. I mean, if we know and think and meditate and contemplate and see how we can apply and pray to Lord Balaram on this wonderful divine appearance of his, to have that, because knowledge is there. What is lacking is the sharpness. And without that sharpness, without that, this Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, everybody has there in their homes. But if it has to go and if it really has to transform us, our behavior has to change, because it is not so easy. It's so many conditions, so many things are holding us back. Then the sharpness is required. The sharpness comes by the mercy of Balaram. The 10th canto, I would say, is one of the like crest jewel of Bhagavatam. Yeah, so the rushing is not good, but you see how that lady is praying, Mataji. What if we die without finishing these books? Okay, I mean, don't read the purport so much. At least the words are spoken by, I mean, the Sukadeva Goswami is narrating, right? There's wonderful descriptions of the Lord, his forms, his activities. Very beautiful. That's why I think one of the classes, I think last time I was telling in that hearing on the day of Janmashtami, when one day when that was celebrated in the US, the disciples were reading Krishna book since morning and they were not able to read. Prabhupada just started chanting the verses and finished it. Because these verses are not ordinary. Very powerful. I would say read the whole thing. 11 canto is amazing. Amazing descriptions. Navayogendra giving instruction to Maharaj Nimi, and they talk about all this 9 processes of devotional life. All one. They'll explain. Beautiful it is. So the fear that I mean, that's you should read. Everything you should read. Yeah, you should read. Yeah. Better than not reading, not knowing. When you'll reach there, you don't know. So at least that section and the ones that we discussed to know. Any other question? Thank you all for joining. Shri Balram Jayanti Maha Mahotsav ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.